All right, let's dive into one of Shakespeare's earliest and maybe one of his most puzzling comedies, The Two Gentlemen of Verona. This is a story that basically pits two of the most powerful forces in life, love and friendship, directly against each other. And that really brings us to the question at the heart of the whole play, one that drives every single decision. If you had to make a choice between your absolute best friend and the person you love, what would you pick? Let's see how Shakespeare messes with this classic problem. So, our story kicks off in the gorgeous city of Verona, Italy. And here we meet two young guys, Valentine and Proteus, who are just the best of friends. I mean, they grew up together and their bond feels totally unbreakable. But even though they're super close, these two could not be more different. On one hand, you have Valentine. He's all about adventure, just itching to get out of town and see what the world has to offer. Then you've got Proteus, who is a hopeless romantic. His whole universe pretty much orbits around this woman he's in love with, Julia. And we're not just talking about some passing crush here. Proteus and Julia are seriously in love. Right before Proteus's dad makes him go join Valentine in Milan, they exchange these really intense vows. She even gives him a ring, this big symbol of their unbreakable promise. Or so they think. Now the scene shifts over to Milan. Proteus shows up expecting to just hang out with his buddy, but the second he gets there, the entire foundation of his loyalty to his friend and to his girlfriend is about to just completely fall apart. And here it is, the big turning point. Valentine has fallen hard for a woman named Sylvia, the Duke of Milan's daughter. And naturally, he tells his best friend, Proteus, all about it. But the second Proteus lays eyes on Sylvia, his promise to Julia just evaporates. It's gone. He's completely consumed by this new obsession. And look, this isn't some passive mistake he makes. Proteus makes a cold, calculated decision to betray his best friend. He finds out Valentine is planning to run away with Sylvia, and instead of helping, he cooks up this 4-step scheme. He rats him out to the Duke, gets Valentine kicked out of the city, and basically clears the path so he can go after Sylvia himself. It is a total, shocking betrayal. So, with Valentine out of the picture, you'd think Proteus's plan is working, right? Well, wrong. It completely backfires. Sylvia wants absolutely nothing to do with him, and back in Verona, Julia is so heartbroken that she decides she can't just sit around and wait anymore. So what does she do? In this incredibly brave, kind of desperate move, Julia dresses up as a boy, a page boy named Sebastian. This disguise is her ticket into Milan. It lets her get close to Proteus and figure out why he's suddenly gone radio silent, all without him knowing who she really is. And this leads to one of the most painfully ironic situations in the entire play. Proteus, having no clue who Sebastian really is, actually hires Julia, his own girlfriend in disguise, to be his messenger. So now she's forced to carry love letters from the man she loves to the woman he's trying to steal from his best friend. I mean, talk about heartbreaking. But hold on, because the twists aren't over. The story now heads into a forest just outside Milan. And this is where all the scattered, messy pieces of this plot are about to come crashing together for a huge finale. Get this, the banished Valentine, it turns out, has become the leader of a band of outlaws. So when Sylvia runs away from Milan to try and find him, she gets captured. Proteus rescues her, only to immediately start pressuring her to love him. And guess who steps out from behind a tree at that exact moment? Valentine. He saw the whole thing. So, caught red-handed, Proteus is consumed with guilt and begs for forgiveness. And what happens next is what makes this play so famous and so controversial. Valentine not only forgives him on the spot, but he says this unbelievable line, "All that was mine in Sylvia I give thee." He's basically willing to give the woman he loves to his friend to fix their friendship. Now, for us today, that's just a shocking moment. But some scholars say it reflects this Renaissance idea that male friendship was considered a higher, purer form of love than romance. Either way, it's a moment that has had audiences scratching their heads for centuries. Before anyone can even process that crazy offer, the page boy Sebastian faints, and boom, Julia's true identity is revealed. Seeing the incredible pain he's caused both of them, a genuinely ashamed Proteus realizes his mistake and goes back to Julia. Then the Duke shows up, pardons everyone, and in this whirlwind finish, everything gets tied up neatly. The two couples are back together, happy ever after. So, after all that drama, the betrayal, the disguises, that absolutely wild forgiveness. What are we supposed to take away from this? What does this crazy story actually tell us about people? When you really boil it down, the play hits on some pretty timeless truths. It shows us that, yeah, people are flawed, that even the strongest friendships can completely crack under pressure. It's a reminder that intense love can make people do some really irrational, even terrible things. But maybe its most powerful and most challenging idea is that forgiveness, no matter how hard it is to wrap your head around, really does have the power to rebuild things that seem completely broken. So if you look at this whole roller coaster, you can really see the emotional journey in 4 steps. We start with this pure, loyal friendship back in Verona. Then that gets shattered by a shocking betrayal in Milan. Next, we hit that unbelievable moment of radical forgiveness out in the forest, which somehow leads to a full, if a little hard to believe, reconciliation at the end. And all of this leaves us with one final nagging question. Yeah, Valentine and Julia both forgive Proteus, but can an act of forgiveness really, truly wipe the slate clean after a betrayal that deep? Well, that's the question the Two Gentlemen of Verona